We are all in the Bhakti Shastri course where we are studying Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada. We completed chapter number 15. It was titled as the Yoga of the Supreme Person, or in other words, Purushottam Yoga. Okay, so what did we discuss in the previous class?
पुरुषोत्तम योगा प्रयोजन पुरुषोत्तम yoga deals with sambandha abhinaya and prayojana.
Why are you sitting in that corner? Take a chair here. So much chair is there here. What kind of yoga is that? Okay. Purushottam yoga deals with SAP. Sambandha abhinaya and prayojana. Anything else?
This chapter deals with breaking our material attachments and understanding Krishna as the source of Brahman and maintaining Paramatma in Bhagavad. That was the last one, the conclusion of that chapter. Breaking the material attachments.
Anything else?
16, 17 and 18 are
Anything else? No.
It explains about who are we, who is the Supreme Lord, and what is our relationship with them.
That is Sambandha. Yeah.
How superficial helps you to escape
and how Lord enters into the world in three levels. Like atomic level, Paramatma and planetary level. From the essence of Bhagavad.
So what is the essence of chapter 15? Sambandha, Abhidaya and Prayojana. That knowledge is very important. Otherwise we cannot escape the cycle of birth and death. So that is a major conclusion. Having that knowledge, one must surrender to the Lord, and one must synchronize one's desire with that of the Lord. That is called as detachment. Detachment means synchronizing the desire, synchronizing the attachment which we have for things which will not connect us with the Lord. Alright, so today we will begin with chapter 16. This is called as Divine and Demonic Nature. Neera Prabhupada. Unless there is an emergency. No class Bhakti. उनको भी लेके आने. Okay. Divine and Demonic natures. So as usual we will begin with Phalashruti. Actually I should have done the Phalashruti at 7:15 outside. The people who came late did not have a story. Next time I will do Phalashruti for people who come on late. Only for people who come on late. Okay. So in Gujarat there is a place called as Saurashtra. Anyone knows? Yes.
So the last one also Saurashtra.
Huh?
Chapter 15 also Saurashtra.
Yeah. So we are talking more about Gujarat. So in Gujarat there was a king whose name was Khadka. Khadka is it?
Khadka means gold.
Sword.
Khadka.
Khadka.
Bahu.
It will not come in the exam.
Whose arms are as strong as a sword.
क्या बात कर रहे हैं? Now this Khadka Bahu, his lifestyle was like that of Indra, okay, which means very opulent, and he had one elephant, male elephant, whose name was Harimardan. Khadka Bahu's elephant's name was Harimardhan. It's your idea. Harimardhan. Now this Harimardhan elephant was so proud of himself from his temples oozed liquid owing to pride. So proud he was. Don't ask me how. I don't know. Now one day, and because if one is very proud, then one usually gets very angry. So one day in a fit of anger, this elephant whose name was Harimardhan. Haribabu. Was the elephant in the kingdom. Harimardhan. One day in a fit of anger, Harimardhan broke loose, okay, and started running in the kingdom. And Harimardhan then started trampling all the citizens. So it was a very serious situation. I know we are laughing in this room, but it was very serious. You can imagine if you are there, an elephant is coming, mad elephant that too. Now, Khadgabahu was with his son in the kingdom, in the palace, and someone came and told me that, what is this going on? Your elephant is running amok and then it's killing so many people. So obviously it's the responsibility of the king. And Khadgabahu himself was very adept at taming wild animals, including elephants. Okay. So then he left with his son. Now as he went into the kingdom, he suddenly saw that this elephant is running amok and he was just observing the elephant. Okay. Now people were all running helter-skelter. Everyone had panic and fear in their faces. So they had fear in their faces. This elephant is coming now. As he could see people facing death and fearful, he saw one Brahmana who was a very saintly person who was straight away walking towards the elephant without any fear. Fearless, completely fearless. Abhay. So, and the elephant came right in front of the Brahmana, and then it sat in front of the Brahmana, and then the Brahmana started stroking the head of the elephant. The elephant ekdam thanda ho gaya udhar baith gaya. Obviously the king was very surprised. Okay. So we'll go to verse number 1. What is the story after that? You all know. Can someone complete the story?
Brahmana was reciting the 16th chapter.
Brahmana became fearless.
One becomes fearless.
They're all correct answers. So the Brahmana, the king asked the Brahmana, how come? Ye chamatkar kaisa? That the elephant was so wild and in front of you it came and then it suddenly lost all its anger. So the Brahmana said, I simply recited the first 3 verses of chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita. And who did he tell this answer to?
King.
Which king? So he told his answer and the king was very surprised. So the king invited that Brahmana to his palace. He gave him lots of gold coins, hundreds of gold coins. He gifted him and then he asked him to teach him
Chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita.
Okay. So whoever is your teacher of Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, you must reward him with gold coins. Nothing. Original gold. I know what you are thinking.
As soon as you become kings, no problem.
Yes, Prabhu.
Both are good.
Yes, gold coin donation.
So, and then the elephant was taken back to the cage. So the king every day started hearing this 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita from the Brahmana, and the king gradually became a devotee of the Lord, and he became fearless. Okay. So one day he went to the cage and he himself opened still the elephant was mad. No? So he opened the cage without fear, and then the elephant immediately bowed down in front of the king also, and then the king started stroking the elephant. It was like that. So therefore, and then the king, it was not only about stroking the elephant. Fearlessness is not the only thing that it gives. So the king was so inspired by this 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that at the right time he gave the kingdom to his son, went to the forest and developed unalloyed love for Lord Krishna and went home back to God. Anyone who hears Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, however sinful that person may be, the person will develop fearlessness and then go. and will attain the same destination as who was from which place?
Saurashtra.
That you will, I know you will answer. हमारा गुजराती छोड़ नहीं हम लोग गुजराती who head back to God head. Okay, now let us go to, this is a very important chapter, it's a beautiful chapter. After some technical section, now we are coming to a very, I'm not saying other chapters are थोड़ा technical था बाकी chapter. This chapter is going to be really about values, character, qualities. It talks about the 26 qualities of a Vaishnava. This is where it is coming from, this chapter. The divine and demonic natures. So let's directly go into this. And this is we are very fortunate because we attended a seminar on this chapter by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada in Sydney. So there are a lot of interesting points. How many of you attended? Okay, so all of you have the responsibility of now getting points from that class. Yeah, I'll probably catch all of you. Whoever raised the hand. आपने very fortunate. You were also there. Yes. You were there in the car.
I was one.
The Supreme, so verse 1, the divine and demonic natures. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy, and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature.
In the beginning of the 15th chapter, the banyan tree of this material world was explained. The extra roots coming out of it were compared to the activities of the living entities, some auspicious, some inauspicious. In the 9th chapter also, the devas or godly and the asuras, the ungodly or demons are explained. Now, according to the Vedic rites, activities in the mode of goodness are considered auspicious for progress on the path of liberation. And such activities are known as Daivi Prakriti, transcendental by nature. Those who are situated in the transcendental nature make progress on the path of liberation. For those who are acting in the modes of passion and ignorance, on the other hand, there is no possibility of liberation. Either they will have to remain in the material world as human beings, or they will descend among the species of animals, or even lower life forms. In this 16th chapter, the Lord explains both the transcendental nature and its attendant qualities, and the demoniac nature and its qualities. He also explains the advantages and disadvantages of these qualities.
So what are the points here? So we'll have to go paragraph by paragraph. At least first 4 or 5 paragraphs are very important. After that I'll just sum up. So we can't, obviously we don't have time to one verse so much. Yeah. But pretty much we'll discuss, most of the time we'll be discussing this verse in today's class.
Activities in the mode of goodness are considered to be path of liberation.
Because mode of goodness is the foundation for the mode of pure goodness. Should be my proof. He will come.
What did you say? Mode of goodness is the passion for the...
Mode of goodness is the platform for the transcendental mode of goodness.
But here in the paragraph it says that it's already Daivi Prakriti. So activities in the mode of goodness are considered auspicious for progress on the path of liberation. And such activities are known as Daivi Prakriti, transcendental by nature. So the coming.
Daivi means they are talking about the demigods usually have these qualities.
Okay, from that perspective.
Actually, I also had a question. I got confused. Can we also mean that because you said mode of goodness is like a springboard for our Vasudev Sattva, so it can be interpreted that way as well?
Okay, so this chapter is also called as Deva Asura Sampada Yoga, because there is a Sampadam Devi that's mentioned in the verse, if you see. So it's called as Deva Asura Sampada Yoga. Now it is mentioned that at the highest level the jivas can be classified into two: Daivi Prakriti or Asuric Prakriti, the divine or the demonic. So it is mentioned that in Satya Yuga, अभी कौन सा युगा चल रहा है? कलि युगा. Satya Yuga में, in Satya Yuga, the demons as well as the divine personalities, they used to live on different planets. Okay, and in the Treta Yuga, they will live in the same planet in different countries. Okay? And in Dwapar Yuga, they will live in the same country. So we see that in Mahabharata also, the Pandavas and the Kauravas lived in the same country, Indraprastha and Hastinapur. Yeah, and different families will be there in the same country. But in Kali Yuga, the divine and demonic inside the same person. एक ही आदमी के अंदर दोनों होता है, good dog and bad dog. In Kali Yuga, that is a speciality. So both live, and both of them are competing with one another for supremacy. Both of them are competition में, दोनों भी. Good dog, bad dog, दोनों का competition चलता है. किधर? मन के अंदर. All the time they are competing. So the battle is going on. So therefore, we don't usually say that someone is divine and someone is demonic. So what is the point?
I couldn't get it because he was asking me something.
What?
He was asking where do the demons live in Treta Yuga and
Who was asking?
Me, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, why don't you sit tired? That's why I told you. You can concentrate from here better now. Are you mad? उधर कुछ है क्या? Are you having some responsibility that side?
My son.
Where is Mataji?
He is also.
So she will take care of why two people for one. He is a nice boy. You can sit here. I get very enthusiastic seeing you because you study and come. Okay. Okay, so both of them are battling for supremacy inside. So we don't in Kali Yuga we don't call anyone as a demonic person or a divine person. Both are inside the same personality. So that is a very important point to understand. So largely those who live their lives in deference with the scriptures and scriptural injunctions, those people are called as divine. And those people who act according to the against the scriptural injunctions, they are called as demonic. Or let me put it this way, let me not even say those who. When a person acts against the scriptural injunctions, that means that person is acting under the demonic influence. And when the same person is acting in abeyance, in adherence to the scriptures, then such a person is called as, such a person is said to be under the divine nature. Correct. Okay, so this is the correct understanding. So Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj mentioned a very beautiful point in this regard. He said, when a person so therefore, whether we come under the influence of divine energy or demonic energy is in whose hands? Is in our hands. So Maharaj in this context mentioned that when you voluntarily, this is a beautiful statement, when you voluntarily restrict your freedom, then you actually become free. When you voluntarily restrict your freedom, then you actually become free. Voluntarily restrict. If you are restricting under the force of someone, then you may not become free when the force is not applied on you. Right? So when you voluntarily restrict your freedom, then you actually become free. Especially in Grihastha life, when we voluntarily restrict our freedom of associating with the opposite sex inside the house, when we voluntarily do that, then we can become free of that inclination or desire. But it has to be voluntary. Nobody can force. Right? And nobody can do governance of this. Correct? Nobody can. It's absolutely voluntary. Similarly, that's one example. So similarly, there are so many examples. For example, when we voluntarily restricted our freedom to not to have onion and garlic, today it's gone. So similarly, any anartha, this is the same principle is there. But when we indulge in something, then what happens? It's like pouring fuel on that, not pouring water on it. The more we indulge in something, it will not happen that we will exhaust it and then therefore we will go towards emancipation or liberation. No. More we indulge, more we are going opposite direction when we indulge. So voluntarily we have to turn this way, then follow. Then that is actually one becomes free. So that is a bit of an irony in that statement, but it is true. Which is what Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj also mentioned. So real freedom is what? Real Swaraj or freedom is freedom from the three modes of material nature. And this is why Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur said the Krishna Consciousness movement cannot wait for India's independence. Why? Because what is the independence? We are not bound actually by the Britishers. Right? Because the Britishers have gone out of India. Are we still bound by Western civilization? Yes. Right? Full Vedic culture is lost. Like Gauram Prabhu, I told last class, we never say namaste, we say hi. Then hi is followed by chai, which again has been brought by Western influence. Tea was never an Indian concept, right? All these Kellogg's, cornflakes, we used to eat idli, dosa, paratha in the morning. Now, because of Western influence, now we are eating cornflakes in the morning, right? So this is how it's coming. There was never a concept of pizza when I was small. I never knew what is a pizza, right? I never knew noodles. There was one of my friends one day, my opposite neighbor, he said noodles, and then I was thinking, what is this? First I thought it was vermicelli. Snake. So all these things slowly are binding us more. So the real freedom. So how true Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, Saraswati Mahashaya was. He said that the real freedom is freedom from the three modes of material nature. Three modes of material nature की गुलामी नहीं करनी चाहिए. That is real स्वतंत्रता. उसी में. So next paragraph we will read. So who will read? Prabhuji.
The word Abhijatasya in reference to one born of transcendental qualities or godly tendencies is very significant. To beget a child in a godly atmosphere is known as in the Vedic scripture as Garbhadhana Samskara. If the parent wants a child in the godly qualities, they should follow the 10 principles recommended for the social life of the human being. In Bhagavad Gita, we have studied also before that sex life for begetting a good child is Krishna himself. Sex life is not condemned, provided the process is used in Krishna consciousness. Those who are in Krishna consciousness at least should not beget children like cats and dogs, but should beget them so that they may become Krishna conscious after birth. That should be the advantage of children born of a father and mother absorbed in Krishna consciousness. The source, carry on.
So where are we?
The paragraph is done, but there is another small paragraph.
No, don't go to Varnashram. Social institution, don't go. It's a different paragraph. This one paragraph. Here, what are the points here?
Garbhadhana Samskara is more important for begetting a Krishna conscious child. Concentrating on the samskaras even before the conception is more important, which Bhaktivedanta Swami highlighted.
So that they may become Krishna conscious.
Yeah. Anything else?
What Abhijatasya?
The word Abhijatasya is what? What do you mean by that?
Born out of transcendental qualities.
So why is it mentioned that the word Abhijatasya is very important? Why does Prabhupada say that?
To begin the child in Krishna consciousness by Garbhadana Sanskar.
Okay, that's fine.
We need to imbibe or get the soul of such a kind of soul by via the sanskar.
Correct. So if you see, go to the last sentence of the translation. O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. What do you mean by endowed? That is the punchline for the whole paragraph. Endowed means what? पहले से ही है, not that बाद में लफड़ा है, right? पहले से ही है. It is there since the time of birth, and that is a key point here. Endowed, all these qualities, one is endowed with at the time of birth. So it is given, लेके आया है बच्चा, and that is why this Garbhadana Samskara becomes very important. Now this is where most of the parents struggle today. Today most of our struggle is why? Because many of us have begotten our children when we were not Krishna conscious, or we were just new in Krishna consciousness, so we did not definitely do Garbhadana Samskara. At least those people are more fortunate who conceived after they became devotees. But those people who conceived before they became devotees, now they are at the mercy of somebody who may not be endowed with those qualities, but now we have to try and cultivate those qualities in that person. And that is where our biggest challenge of life is. Okay. So usually, when the child is very small, then these qualities do not manifest. These qualities manifest later. The qualities with which a child is born, they manifest later. The word manifest is very important. Manifest means what? They come forth in public, or at least at home. They will come only at a later stage in life. We will never know. Almost every parent will go through this particular illusion that their child is a very sattvic child. Every parent goes through this illusion that their child is a very sattvic. My child is very good. मेरा तो बेटा बहुत सात्विक है. बोलो बेटा, बोलो एप्पल, बोलो एप्पल. इतना प्यारा बेटा है, बहुत सात्विक है. बोबड़ बोलते हैं, कुछ भी मालूम नहीं, इनोसेंट है वो मेरा बेटा. उसको सब स्कूल में सब परेशान है ना कि मेरा बेटा. And the person who is in the other mothers of the school also saying मेरा भी बेटा. सब सात्विक है तो कोई तो एक होना चाहिए ना. But every mother thinks that मेरा नहीं है वो. बहुत बाहर बहुत ऐसा atmosphere is polluted per se. We don't know, our children could also be polluting that atmosphere. So therefore, everyone is in love with his or her own child, because when the child is doing all those small tricks and small speaking, playing with toys and bobad, then everyone thinks that, oh, how nice this is, like that. But the demonic qualities come out later. Slowly it starts coming out. When the child grows, you start realizing, oh my goodness, this is my child. Oh, acha. And that can be very bewildering, confusing. That can be very confusing. You wouldn't know how to deal with that situation. So, if the child has not been begotten out of Garbhadana Samskara, then be prepared. Satark rahe to what is coming, your way, like that. Same for me also. So, Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj was saying that, look, this is, now you can start. So, Maharaj was saying that most of us take a very reactive approach towards the whole problem. We first beget the child and then we try to change his nature. So, therefore, Garbhadana Samskara is very important. Garbhadana Samskara if done, then the soul with such qualities will be sent into the womb of the mother. It will first come into the semen of the father and then into the womb of the mother. Even when Prahlad Maharaj was born, Many people ask this question, no? How come Hiranyakashipu was a demon Prabhu, Prahalad Maharaj? Of course, it's a Leela of the Lord, but still, technically speaking, there is something that happened. When Hiranyakashipu went to meditate on the forest, what happened? Two birds were sitting, Narad Muni and who was the other personality? I forgot. Two personalities were sitting and they were singing, they were saying like that. Okay, so he was getting irritated, Hiranyakashipu, because the demonic person cannot hear the holy names of the Lord. Okay, so he got up, he couldn't meditate, he came back home. So his wife was asking, "Kya ho gaya bhai? Aap to gaye the meditate karne ke liye, for many years. You came back so soon." I couldn't sit there. They were always saying Vishnu, Vishnu, Narayana. They were chanting the names of the Lord. Okay, so already he had heard that. And then on top of that, what happened? Kayadu kept on asking him, what did the parrot say? Narayana, Vishnu. Kya? Phir se bola. What? Narayana, Vishnu. And he kept on, she made him chant several times. And then he had association with her, and then Prahalad was born. And then when Prahalad was in the womb, then the rest is history. Narad Muni was there reciting Bhagavatam. So Prahalad Maharaj then came out of the womb like that. Okay. So most of us, I don't know whether we all know whether how our child was conceived. So if it was a different process, then we have a struggle. So it's better to not to have very high dreams, high expectations, and then get frustrated. Rather, it is better to do our whatever little bit, keeping the atmosphere at home as sattvic as possible, and for ourselves to be very serious in spiritual life. And then of course he said that you have to be a good father and a good mother to him. Even if the child does not show devotional tendencies during teenage, become a good father and mother. And yesterday we were discussing the example of Nirav Prabhu only. I was telling Govind Prabhu. Nirav Prabhu और आदित्य का बहुत अच्छा relationship है. Because Nirav Prabhu is such a person that he is, it's very easy to make friends with him. He is a very friendly person. So even with Aditya, he talks like I've seen he talks with Riya also like that, like as if he's talking to a peer, not like a father who's pounding his child or whatever. So this is a very good quality I have seen in him. Okay, and same way he deals with Aditya also. So Aditya loves him very much. Nirav Prabhu, हाँ ठीक है, anytime, okay. So I told Govind Prabhu this. So Govind Prabhu said ऐसे ही होना चाहिए. This is the way we must deal with our children. So Brother Prabhu, I have seen you also dealing like this. Please don't mistake me. I am not quoting everyone because I don't know, but I can see those dealing very friendly with your children. So I have seen like that. In your house I have seen like that. So that is the way Govind Prabhu was mentioning to me that we must deal. Not always pounding them, shouting, yelling, yeah, wo. Especially when they are in the childhood, obviously you have to chastise. He didn't say don't chastise, but he said this is all at the age of teens. Yeah. And the childhood we must chastise. If they are not in their teens, till that time we can do. But the moment they start developing their independent thinking, and now they start, I know that stage. Of course, chanting will purify. Whenever they take to chanting later on in their life, because the devotional process itself is purifying, and they have samskaras. Even if we have not done Garbhadan samskara, at least throughout our child they have got exposed to saintly personalities. They have done some service. Neha Vikraman Ashwasti. This is very important, powerful verse also. So little bit of devotional life even our children have done in the childhood, it will save them at the time of their greatest danger. So we don't have to be too, it's not a gloomy prediction I want to give in the class. I just want to give a caution to everyone. Just be mentally prepared so that you are not disappointed. And then Prabhuji said they will come back. If you are friendly with them, they will come back. Because they know at the end of the day, see, if you actually see our own lives, we were not Krishna conscious at that time. But if you would also, all of you may remember, most of you, unless I don't know, some Prahlad Maharajas will be in the room. I am definitely not one. Okay, so we all rebelled. If my parents, I always rebelled. But later on, what happened was I developed immense attachment to my parents after that. And nobody did anything for that. My father and mother used to love me the same. I went out, sab jagah dekh ke aaya duniya, and then finally, I used to come for peace of mind. I will only come at home. And then sometimes I will just go to my mother, and then my mother will do like this. And I feel, thank God, I am with my mother. Because that will happen, automatically that will happen. If you are, because of the relationship, because of the trust bonding, the child will come back to the mother and the father. Some children don't go to the father because the father is always putting that stern thing. But where the father has been very friendly, then the child will come to the father also. Unless the father has not put them off. So he said, at this stage, don't put him off. That is the instruction. Just continue being a friend. Take interest in his activities. Don't immediately shun everything. It's a don't give lectures because they will switch off. The moment you start giving lectures, they will switch off. This Prabhuji was saying that when my son told me I am doing Indonesian, I said, oh, very good, very good. And then I brought Indonesian Bhagavad Gita to give him Indonesian photo. The first day he read something, Changping, Dharma Kshetra, Guru Kshetra, Ting, Tang, Ting, something he did. Okay. After that second day he gave the book back to me. Said, it's a very nice book, it's really interesting, but there are better books, where I can study Indonesian. Like that. And then he go very pada. Never touched it again. So he said, that also I tried. So that is how it is. So Garbhadan Samskara. Now I am sure everyone has understood the essence of what Prabhupada is doing. Why Garbhadan Samskara is very important. I am sure you don't have to buy heart this in your exam. If I ask you, you will write tons and tons of volumes. Especially if your child is already going to reach that stage or already there. One essay will come on this. Okay. So let's go to the next part of this. So who wants to read it? Sorry, anyone had a question? No? Okay. Nastu Mataji, next one.
The social institution known as Varnashrama Dharma, the institution dividing society into 4 divisions of social life and 4 occupational divisions or caste, is not meant to divide human society according to birth. Such the divisions are in terms of educational qualifications. They are to keep the society in the state of peace and prosperity. The qualities mentioned herein are explained as transcendental qualities meant for making a person progress in spiritual understanding so that he can get liberated from the material world.
Okay. So can you do rapid reading? Who can do a little bit more rapid, fast, super fast reading? Only next paragraph we are going to read, because otherwise we don't have time. Yeah, Arvind, go for it. Proudly, yeah.
In the Varnashrama institution, the sannyasi or the person in the renounced order of life is considered to be the head or the spiritual master of all the social statuses and orders. A Brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master of the 3 other sections of the society, namely the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas and the Sudras. But a sannyasi who is on the top of the institution is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahmanas also. For a sannyasi, the first qualification should be fearlessness. Because the sannyasi has to be alone without any support or guarantee of support, he has simply to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one thinks after I leave my connection, who will protect me, he should not accept renounced order of life. One must be fully convinced that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his localized aspect as Paramatma, is always within, that he is seeing everything and he always knows what one intends to do. One must thus have firm conviction that Krishna as Paramatma will take care of the soul surrendered to him. I shall never be alone, one should think. Even if I live in the darkest region of a forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna and he will give me all protection. The conviction is called abhayam, fearlessness. This state of mind is necessary for a person in the renounced order of life.
Okay, so what is the point here? So we are talking about which quality? The first quality which is mentioned. Abhayam. Any points?
So sannyasi has to depend on Krishna's mercy, one and the other. Practically, theoretically, Krishna, which will practically be given by the grihasthas.
What is it?
The sannyasi will be supported by the grihasthas, but he would be theoretically dependent on Krishna.
Theoretically dependent.
Theoretically meaning
Practically?
Practically via grihastha he will be supported.
But that is practically only, that is not theoretically.
Practically he will be supported by grihasthas.
Which is practically support also for Krishna. So, see the moment, I am just correcting the thinking. It's not theoretically in Krishna, but practically coming through devotee. It is not like that. Practically he is then surrendered to Krishna. You don't get that? How many of you did not get that? if something is coming, if support is coming to us through the medium of a human being, and I am completely confident, then am I theoretically surrendered to Krishna or practically surrendered to Krishna? I am still practically only surrendered to Krishna. That's all I am saying.
Practically surrendered to Krishna, yes.
So there are no two surrenders, theoretical level, practical level. There is only one. Practically, if we are surrendered to Krishna, then the surrender will manifest in the form of devotees taking care of us. But first the surrender comes. Okay. Does that make sense?
Even though Prabhupada says that this quality is for sannyasi, actually this quality should be ideally for all the ashramas, because I think I heard in one lecture that to the extent to which we have faith in Krishna, to that extent we are actually fearless. So it is not really, even though Prabhupada says that this is the quality especially applicable for sannyasis, but it's applicable for all the ashrams basically.
Basically for Vaishnavas, as I heard in a lecture.
Correct. Both of you are right. That was my next point I was going to say, but you have stole my point. So it's okay. Good. So these 26 qualities, though it has been divided here for sannyasis, vaishyas, satriyas, sannyasis, grihasthas, vanaprasthas and brahmacharis, and then later on the varnas are also mentioned. So, but most of these qualities are applicable to all. In the implementation of these qualities, then there are practical differences in how a sannyasi applies it and how a grihastha applies it. So, fearlessness. So it is mentioned that this is an important quality for a sannyasi. A sannyasi, fearlessness is nothing but a symptom of surrender to the Lord. There are two reasons why we fear. One is that we will not be maintained, and another one is that we will be destroyed. Correct? Somebody will kill us, or death will come to us, or some harm will come to us, or number two is that we will not have enough money to maintain. These are two common fears in this world. Right? Pardon me? We will not be maintained, or we will not be safe. Okay. So that is why there are two aspects of surrender. Goptratve varnam tatha and rakshishiti sa vishwaso. Goptratve varnam tatha means what? That Lord Krishna is my maintainer, and rakshishiti sa vishwaso is Lord Krishna is my protector also, not only my maintainer. So therefore, when we have that level of surrender, when we practically have this conviction that Lord Krishna is the maintainer and Lord Krishna is the protector, only then we can be fearless. Otherwise, we will always be under the influence of fear, and therefore we cannot. When we are fearful, to the extent we are fearful, we cannot be straightforward. We cannot be straightforward to the extent. In office also, why are we not straightforward? Because we are fearful. We think that the source of our income is the source of our maintenance, as Govind Prabhu says always. Our source of income is not the source of our maintenance. The source of maintenance is Lord Krishna. Because we don't know that, sometimes we try to put up so many things in our office thinking that they may kick me out. And then what will I do for my salary? So we are somehow in this illusion that we are the maintainer of our families. And then by my hard work I am maintaining my family. And as long as we think like that, then we will be fearful. Any points?
I'm not sure. Last time in Chaitanya Charitamrita about Srivas Pandit, not Srivas-Acharya. I think Srivas Pandit. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to his place, Srivas Pandit, he didn't used to work. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, how do you maintain your family? So he said, I just clap 3 times and things come to me. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, how does that happen? So he said, if if the maintenance doesn't come, then I will drown myself by tying a boulder to my neck. So, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually really applauds. But then Maharaj was explaining the underlying meaning of this, he had a very strong faith that Krishna will, whatever it is, he was continuously involved in his services, whatever activities. I can't remember the whole thing, but I mean, this Maharaj was saying the faith that he had was being shown. Chaitanya was really applauding his faith.
But we have to be very careful that we should not misuse this point. Okay. Nevertheless, one should be fearless always. Even when we do our work, we have to understand that I have to work very hard because of my karma. But my work is not the source of my maintenance, it is still Lord Krishna only who is maintaining, like that. Because at the end of the day, if we do not have strength in our hands, let's say I'm maintaining my family by, let's say my profession is computers, and let's say I have paralysis tomorrow and I can't even type, so what am I going to do? Right? Or if I go blind because of something, glaucoma or something in my eye, then what will happen? So we can't do anything. So we have to understand that whatever we are doing also, there is somebody who is giving us the ability to do all that. So we must see that Lord Krishna is the maintainer. He gives us the abilities to also do our work, for us to do our work. So, but pure devotee is fearless because he knows under any situation that the Lord is the maintainer and he is the protector. So why I should worry? He thinks like that. Why I should worry? Even Python man was thinking like that. He was just lying there. And Prahlad Maharaj went there and he was asking me, what is this? He said, yeah, whatever I want, it will come to me. The Lord has ordained. He is providing for so many people in this world. All the animals and all he is providing. Will he not provide for me? So that is about, and then the next paragraph, Prabhupada talks about the second important quality, which is called as purification of one's existence. First is fearlessness and then purification of one's existence. These two are the qualities which are most important for sannyasis. Pure existence. So, what is pure existence? Pure existence means association should be completely avoided with the opposite sex. It is called as pure existence. Now, the same principle as Rajabha Prabhu and Jagan Prabhu are mentioning is also applicable for Grihastha. Okay. We cannot have a pure existence with sex desire inside our heart. They don't go hand in hand. Right? So, association with the opposites. But for a Grihastha, while there is some license for the activity, but it is absolutely no for a sannyasi. Even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the most liberal incarnation, even that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict. The moment Chota Haridas was lustily looking at the opposite sex, Mahaprabhu said, I don't want to be with you. You get out from here. He was so, even most liberal Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict when it comes to sannyasas. That is very important. And Grihasthas also have to struggle for this purification. If Grihasthas don't struggle and attain this purification, how can the children then learn from their parents? Right? So, in that sense, we have to be very, very grateful. If you actually see, leaders like Shankarshan Das Adhikari. Personally, for me, Shankarshan Das Adhikari is my idol in Krishna Consciousness in one sense, because if I see, for example, where I want to be, if somebody asks me, when I am in Vanaprasth ashram, then that is the life I would like to live. Like Shankarshan Das Adhikari and Vishnu Priya Madhavi. So they are my idol in one sense. I can relate to somebody. I cannot relate to sannyasis. Right? But I can easily relate to these kind of personalities who are as good as sannyasis. They are not different from sannyasis. Right? They are Grihastha Brahmacharis. And now they are Grihastha sannyasis in one sense. The purpose of Shankarshan Das Adhikari's existence is not to have a married life. The whole idea is that spread Prabhupada's mission and guide thousands and thousands of people who are suffering. And his instructions are also, I love it every time he hammers that point of regulated sex life. it's like, he keeps on hammering the point. He doesn't give any room here and there, even to his disciples. No room. Like that. That is what inspires in one sense. And because he is practicing that, then we have to be very thankful that yes, there are people who are practicing. If nobody is practicing, then we will not have faith that it is possible. Right? Similarly, even when we see Sannyasi, Gurujan Prabhu for example, great inspiration for all of us in this congregation. Devamrit Maharaj, thank you, my dear Guru Maharajas, for being you. Any Maharaj, if you see all these Maharajas, they come and inspire us here. So many sannyasis came recently, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj. We feel like saying thank you to you for what you are. Because of what? Because you are you, therefore I am getting inspiration in Krishna Consciousness. Correct? Right? So it's like that. So we have to be very grateful to this layer of sannyasis, that they are very strict on themselves and very lenient with us. Even Vedas Priya Maharaj, for example, he is very kind, very strict with himself, but very lenient with his disciples. He is a very good example of how he doesn't put pressure of any kind on the disciples, but at the same time, he is very regulated. So we are very fortunate actually. We are very fortunate we have association of these persons. So we have to be very thankful that they are setting the example and guiding us. So that is what is Sannyasa Ashram, who act as an inspiration to all the other ashrams. Otherwise we wouldn't exist without them. For sannyasi, another important quality is cultivation of knowledge. Because if the sannyasis do not study Srimad Bhagavatam, they are not able to give us spiritual solutions to all our problems, then obviously we will not get any guidance. There will be the other ashrams will never get developed. As somebody in one class, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati, I think it was, who was condemning roti eating sannyasis. Sannyasis doesn't mean simply staying within the ashram and eating rotis and saying that मैं तो सिर्फ रोटी खाता हूँ, sannyasi हूँ. So that is not roti eating sannyasi. Sannyasi means you have to go out and do prachar, go out and distribute books, go out and inspire people, write books, leave something for this world. So as grihasthas, we also have to prepare ourselves, because Prabhupada writes elsewhere in the purport, 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25 is 100 years. Answer if you think you can live 100 years. What is our lifespan practically? Healthy lifespan? 45, 60, 65, 70. 45 to 50. Don't scare me. You don't have to get back at me. So let's assume 60. 60, let's pay back now. Okay, let's assume 70. 70 divided by 4 is what?
60 Prabhu.
70 divided by 4 is what?
17.5.
17.5. So 17.5 years brahmachari. At 34, Grihastha life ends. Ends up if you are 34. Vanaprastha starts. Actually, if you think that is what it is, so let us be a little bit merciful. At least 50, Vanaprastha, going by first principles. So we are proceeding, now slowly it's coming. For me, I have less time. Some of you have more time. Sukadeva Prabhu and I don't have much time. You are also young, Prabhu. Smiling.
I'm not young.
You are on camera. Okay, so people who are nearing Vanaprastha, then very, very important. Now start preparing how to live life after that. So cultivation of knowledge is very important. Therefore, we have to, these courses are important. Bhakti Sastri, Bhaktivedanta. Right now, when our intelligence is cooperating with us, we must complete studying all these books. Otherwise, later on, it will become very difficult. दिखाई भी नहीं देगा आपको. क्या लिखा है? थोड़ा ज़्यादा. At that time, we are going to do degree. Bhaktivedanta, Sarvabhauma. Finish it. As much as we get opportunities, keep doing. Be busy. So cultivation of knowledge is very important. For grihasthas, then Prabhupada writes that what is the most important for grihasthas? Charity. Charity is very important because the grihastha ashram is the only ashram which maintains all the three ashrams. They are dependent on the Grihastha ashram. And charity, Prabhupada also writes, must be given in the mode of goodness. Mode of goodness means what? Which is typically for our devotee, charity must be given for to spread the Krishna consciousness movement or for Krishna conscious activities. So this is the duty of a Grihastha, charity. Now obviously if we can't be so charitable, then at least we can form cells and then we can go out within our Bhakti Vrikshas and then we can solicit small amount which people can, 1,000 here, 500 there, another 1,000 there, and then at least generate something. Whatever best we can, we do. If Grihasthas, Keshav Prabhu keeps on hammering this point, if Grihasthas do not give charity, what will happen? We will get too attached to our money. Charity is a way of getting detached from our money. If we do not, then we will become very attached to our money. And what will happen? And what happens? We have to come back again to the material world for our attachments to our money. So devotees must not be miserly. Devotees must be charitable. Donate for Krishna conscious purpose. So we have got lot of opportunities here. Every festival we can do. Now Janmashtami is coming, it's another good opportunity to donate. Then the next quality of a Grihastha is what? Self-control. Dhamma. Self-control. And we already discussed this in great depth. Right? The greatest self-control, sense control for a Grihastha is what? Illicit sex within the Grihastha ashram. For Grihasthas, sacrifices is another quality. Grihastha must do sacrifices. Kali Yuga Prabhupada says, what is the sacrifice? Sankirtan Yajna. So Grihastha must be engaged in chanting and preaching. All of us must be chanting and preaching. That is austerity for us in Kali Yuga. We must start our own programs. Now we come to the Varnas. Brahmachari. For a Brahmachari, what is the most important given in the purport? You can read this purport at home.
Vedas.
Huh?
Starting with Vedas.
It's called Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya, self-study. For Brahmacharis, celibacy and self-study. Both are topmost important. So Brahmachari means always engaged in studies. Right? So because our children are not attached to Gurukuls, so at least as much as possible we engage them in attending Srimad Bhagavatam class, we make them sit next to us, hear as much as possible in their childhood before they start rebelling and don't come, right? And what is the other option? Because they are now not anyway going to study Srimad Bhagavatam, at least let them get engaged in their own studies, whatever school studies they have, load them with that, so they are busy. And celibacy is very important for a brahmachari. So if we don't keep our children busy, then they will lose their celibacy very early in life. That's a big risk. So, Urijan Prabhu was also advised, Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj also advised, he said, keep your children busy, especially when they are in teenage. Don't give them time. Keep driving them, keep them busy. Busy in something, sports, music, studies, keep them busy. Now, there are a lot of qualities which are given for the Brahmanas, Brahminical qualities. Sorry, I forgot, skipped something. For the Vanaprastha ashram, it is mentioned, one of the qualities of the Vanaprastha ashram is tapasya. Tapasya means what? Austerities of the body, mind and the tongue. So when a Grihastha enters Vanaprastha ashram, what is the difference? He increases his tapasya. No longer, eating too much, all that will stop. And automatically when we eat less, then what will happen? There is less pressure on the genitals also. There is no more association with the opposite sex. Absolute no after that. Vanaprasthasana. So therefore, in Sanskrit, 51 years is called as what? Ekavan. The word itself comes from the word one. 51 हो गया मतलब क्या? वन में जाने का. That Sanskrit was such a beautiful number में भी एक meaning है. So after 51, but what happens usually? How do we live our retired life?
Tea, coffee, paper.
Tea, coffee, newspaper, and right. This is what people call as retirement. But this is proceeding towards death. This is called as खाई में जो कूदता है ना, तो क्या बोलते हैं? Suicide. So if we lead our retired life watching television, then it is as good as saying that I want to commit suicide. मेरे को please मार डालो. मुझे अपने आप को मार डालना. It's like that. Okay? Why? Because this is the last stage of life. After this, there is only one thing that will come, which is death. Soon disease will come, which will not have any cure, and उसके बाद immediately death will come. So if we have not opened our eyes at this point in time, अभी भी वक्त है. We open our eyes and then immerse deeply ourselves in Krishna conscious activities. That is what is called as, that's why it's called Ekavan. One necessarily doesn't mean you have to go to the forest. One means in your house itself you can bring Vrindavan. घर के अंदर. And then in 51, the husband and the wife together they do pilgrimage. They go out on pilgrimage because the children are well settled. Okay, they go out on pilgrimage. Not worry about अभी grandchild Melbourne है में जाएगा या Macron में पढ़ेगा. Then you will, there is no end. उसके बाद great grandson कौन सा स्कूल में जाएगा? There is no end to it. अभी हो गया ना अभी one level. It's like V+1. That's it. Then it is our child's problem. Grandson क्या करता है? He will take care of that. So not too much worrying about all these things. Rather than worrying about us. So Chanakya Niti, it is said that you can forsake the whole world to save yourself. But at least we should save ourselves when we are after Ekavan के बाद. उसके बाद भी then if we are thinking about दुनिया, then gone. Right? अपने को कौन बचाएगा? So first we have to save ourselves. Otherwise there is no point. The human form of life is very rare. So not to waste time. So tapasya, that is called as vanapras. That's why the ashram itself is called vanapras. Vanapras means full-time Krishna consciousness. Because no job जाने का झंझट नहीं है. गृहस्थ आश्रम हो गया. So vanapras. Not that we continue working till the time we collapse. Correct? Then what is the point? Then we become so attached to our profession, and when you have attached to your profession, what will Krishna do? He will fulfill it. आजा भाई वापस आजा काम करने को. और काम देता हूँ तेरे को. काम तो बहुत है इधर. Right? So we should not be attached too much to our professions and television. Is it clear or no? Yeah. This is an instruction for all of us by the saintly personalities. So, why do we still do this? Why do we still, even when we are very old, why are we so attached to our jobs and to television?
Lust.
Why? Huh?
Lust.
No, not lust.
Ignorance.
Because we are bored. We don't know what to do with our time. Time तो भरना पड़ेगा ना अभी किधर तो. Time है because we are bored. Is it everyone works only for money? Because we don't know what to do with our time. And that is why Grihasthashram is the preparation for Vanaprasthashram. See today, for example, what is the problem? Today, I am speaking for myself. No? What is my problem in going to Mayapur today? I was telling in Mill Park program also. Can I go to Mayapur? Can you go to Mayapur today? कल से चले? No. Holy Dham? No. क्यों? नहीं होगा ना उधर. क्या करेगा? अभी आदत हो गया ऑफिस जाके. Suddenly you have that 8 hours. You don't know what to do with that time. Now, devotional service has got some novelty for us. No? When we go out and get hit by the material world, then we come and Keshav Prabhu is Namam Vishnu Padaya on Monday evenings and Tuesday. Then you feel, अच्छा लग रहा है, you know. But when you are not working, then will you be able to? That's Krishna Consciousness. अभी तक रुचि आ गई है अभी कि it will excite you. No. What will happen? Let's say all no job. Let's say Mayapur, the sun has risen. Oh no, sun has not risen. 4:30 मंगल आरती किया, घर आ गया, lecture सुना. Then after that 9:30 हो गया, 10 बज गया. अभी क्या करेगा घर में आके? Next. Sham 6 बजे तक क्या करोगे? So we have to really think like that. We have to think like that. अभी 6 बजे तक करूँगा क्या? आदत है भागवतम पढ़ने की, कुछ नहीं है तो do I go to the Bhagavatam and then start reading it? In which case no problem, you are safe. But वो आदत नहीं है, then in the गृहस्थ आश्रम we have to put those habits before we go. Otherwise, then उधर भी जाके वही करेंगे हम लोग. What? जब काम नहीं है तो what do we indulge in? और चल पा, mundane topic. उधर भी जाएंगे, इधर आ, इधर जा. क्या हो गया उधर? क्या हालचाल है? क्या हो रहा है? वो प्रभु का, like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So therefore, this is the preparation we have to do. We have to do this preparation. So Grihastha Ashram is a preparation for Vanaprastha Ashram. Otherwise, all the bad habits of Grihastha Ashram will be carried to Vanaprastha Ashram. और कुछ नहीं होगा उसका. Correct?
Garbage in, garbage out.
हाँ?
Garbage in,
garbage out. आदत तो जाएगी नहीं. Correct? So we have to be very careful. So we have to prepare ourselves. It's a good idea. It's a great idea to go to the Holy Dham, but preparation has to be there. Not go prematurely without preparation. Example Asitara Prabhu, yeah. He executed his duties financially very comfortable, children comfortable. Aditya Prabhu said, even if she doesn't have to earn, पूरा जिंदगी वो घर में बैठ के ब्रह्मचारी बनेगा तो भी उसको पास पैसा है, ना रख के मैं भी कमा के गया रखा हूँ उसके. So there is no problem, no financial problems like that. Then retiring, perfect. Of course, it doesn't mean that you need a particular bank balance to go to Mayapur. It doesn't mean like that. Internally, if we are completely having faith that Goptratve Varnantata, then you don't have to think like that. That is fine, but either you have to be renounced or you have to be practical. Not that beach mein, dono ka. Neither practical bhi nahi or renounced bhi nahi. Then you are in a problem then. When you do that. Okay. Then Brahminical qualities. Lot of Brahminical qualities are mentioned here. The topmost Brahminical quality is simplicity or saralta. Very, very important quality. Saralta means what? Be simple and straightforward, not too complicated person. Ekdam simple, saral. Second Brahminical quality is ahimsa. Ahimsa is what? Ahimsa, Prabhupada writes a very interesting word. He says, not checking anyone's progressive life. If Karma has ordained for some living entities to have a life, we are not going and checking them in between. That is called as himsa. Ahimsa means jiva jinedo. It's like that. That is ahimsa. Not checking anyone's progressive life to satisfy the tongue. Usko maar ke main khaunga. Then third important quality is saralata, ahimsa and satyam.
Sorry, is that life or spiritual?
What is it?
Life.
For ahimsa, not checking anyone's spiritual life or
anyone's progressive life. That means if a jiva is destined to live for 4 years, you don't cut it before that and eat in your breakfast.
I also heard in a lecture like even if someone is interfering in spiritual life, that is also not ahimsa.
Correct. Ahimsa is not only by action, it's not only by physical, it's also by our words. If we are hurting someone, that is also a speech which hurts someone is himsa, which creates turbulence or agitation in someone's mind. Then also we are not following ahimsa. Ahimsa means mrudu bhashini, sweet talk. Always talk nicely so that people feel good. Otherwise it's himsa. Satyam means what? Not to distort the truth for some personal interest. So that is the duty of a Brahmana. Today, everything is distorted for personal interest. Like that. Even the Brahmanas, the Smarta Brahmanas who are there in India, they will distort anything for personal interest. They will ask you, शादी करना है, कितना? 1 घंटे वाला शादी है, 10 घंटे वाला शादी. 1 घंटे वाला शादी इतना पैसा, 6 घंटे वाला शादी इतना. कितना मंत्रा बोलने का? Is this mantra is dependent on remuneration or what? They are trying. Is it a car you are buying? They are doing some variant configuration. 4 seats, 1 steering wheel, doesn't work like that. It's not an assembly of things. It's a service. So, if we have to chant the Vedic mantras for a successful marriage, you have to chant in full. Not that. No. Because people are also like that. People are exploitative and the Brahmanas are also now exploiting them. So, Satyam, not to distort the truth for some personal interest. Akrodha. Akrodha means what? Even when provoked, when one doesn't get angry. That is called as akrodha. Kitna bhi provoke kiya. Because Prabhupada says when we get angry, our whole body becomes polluted. Gussa, not good. Whole body becomes polluted. And then next quality is apayasuna, not fault finding. So instead of fault finding, how can we replace fault finding? By constructive criticism. You have heard that many times. So if you want to, if you see something wrong, then we give constructive feedback to that person. But for giving constructive feedback, two things are required. Either of these things are good. Either you should have an authority or you should have a relationship. Don't meddle around. Prabhu, constructive criticism देता हूँ इसको अभी आगे. ये इधर आके constructive criticism देता हूँ. बोले कौन है भाई? इधर से आया. So दो चीज़ है. तुम क्या मैनेजर है क्या यहाँ का? नहीं ऐसे ही मैं आया था. Constructive criticism देने. बोले हट. वैष्णव अपराध करता है वो. हमने कोई बुरा लगा. मैं इतना बोली माता जी उसको. उन्होंने मेरे को ऐसा बोल दिया. And then the lady will start crying or the Prabhuji will start talking to that person. Correct? So there has to be authority. Either you have to be given authority, then it's your duty to correct others, then you correct, or then they have to be in your restricted relationships. You should know that इसको correct किया तो immediately इसका मुंह ऐसा एकदम ऐसा नहीं हो जाएगा. Sometimes people show you by their face. No? Immediately when you give, otherwise when you are joking, they are very nice with you. But when you give feedback, then they will show you immediately कुछ तो ऐसा तनाव सा आ जाता है. No, okay, sir. Then you know that relationship नहीं है. अभी टाइम है इसको. So then next time you have to be very careful. नहीं बाबा इसको अभी advice नहीं देने का. So read very carefully and go to give advice, constructive criticism. Otherwise better to, we have a lot of faults in ourselves, no? So we will never get bored thinking of our own ourselves. A lot of work to be done on ourselves. Okay. So relationship and authority, but no fault finding. And worst is not telling another person about another person. That is another thing. Of course, we have all these tendencies. We have to cut. Curtail this. Apayasuna. We are reminded. Then the next is Hri or modesty. Modesty means not do any abominable action, which puts up the whole congregation or people who trust you. To behave responsibly always. Not to do abominable action. For example, even in the devotee community, somebody is having an affair with somebody, these are all what? Abominable action. They just disturb the society completely. It is not uncommon. Kali-yuga is going on right now. Anything can happen. But such things will disturb the whole congregation. So we have to be responsible, not to shake people's faith and their devotional progress. Modesty, no abominable action. Achapalam means determination. Very important. Not to get agitated or frustrated in our attempts. Keep fighting, even under trying circumstances. So these are some of the Brahminical qualities. Okay? We just discussed one or two more and then we'll end for today. We are still in verse number 1 now.
3.
No, 1, 2, 3, sorry. Then the qualities of a Kshatriya are given. The most important quality of a Kshatriya is what? Tejas or strength. Strength why? To protect the weak. खुद का हेल्थ का 12:30 बजा हुआ है तो दूसरे को क्या प्रोटेक्ट करेगा, right? So we ourselves have to be strong as a Kshatriya, mentally strong as well as physically strong. Otherwise you cannot protect the weak. Kshatriya cannot say, "अरे खून आया, चक्कर आ रहा है." Can Kshatriya say like that? He has to take and then fight and still go through that. Brahmana can collapse, but Kshatriya cannot collapse. Okay. Also, Kshatriya has to be mentally strong because a Kshatriya always needs to judge where to excuse and where to give punishment. This is a very important principle. And a Kshatriya should be able to do that. Not, Prabhupada writes, Kshatriya should not simply pose himself as non-violent. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Many years back, in office, one of the persons I was giving Bhagavad Gita to, he said, "नहीं मुझे Bhagavad Gita नहीं पढ़ना है, बहुत हिंसा है उसमें, हम तो अहिंसावादी हैं." So why all this battle and all those things? Then I asked him one question: if someone is outraging the modesty of your wife, आप क्या उसको पूजा करोगे? Then he said, मारूंगा उसको, मैं तो वही तो कर रहा है. Correct, no? So द्रौपदी का वस्त्राहरण हुआ उधर क्या दुर्योधन का आरती उतारना है उधर. Correct? तो यही तो करने का ना. You have to, how do you deal with such aspects? You have to deal with himsa only. Still, Krishna went with peace proposal after that also. Till that fellow was not. Then what do you do? Then you say, okay, now you come to the battlefield. Then there is no. Then violence. Then you can't call it as violence because this is dharma yuddha. So people do not understand. So they say, Bhagavad Gita mein pura war. It's all about war. No? I am a peaceful guy. But in their personal life, they will be going and yelling at home. They will be treating their wife like that and all. That is a different thing. That who will say for that? That is actual himsa. Okay. Then for a Vaishya, the quality is Saucham. Saucham means internal cleanliness. Saucham is in one sense externally clean also, that's applicable for all ashrams. But internal cleanliness, because Vaishyas are engaged more in dealings. And if the Vaishyas cheat, then the whole society will collapse. So no black marketing. Honest dealings always. That is Vaishya. With a clean in the mind and in the body. And for a Shudra, what is the quality? Nati Manita, which means not to expect honor. Okay? So now, the Bhagavad Gita is speaking about all of us. Hello Shudra Sambhava. Did you think that our chance is over already? We have all been already described how Shudra turn is coming. Anyone thought like that mentally? Yes, I also thought like that when I was reading. Then I suddenly remembered, Shudra, abhi apna baat ho raha hai. अभी तो हायर कास्ट का बात हो रहा है. So what does? What happened? So, not expecting honor. Shudra, Nati Manita. Not expecting honor. A Shudra is meant to serve without expecting honor. If these qualities, Prabhupada says, if these qualities are developed by practice by all classes of men, all these qualities should be practiced by all classes of men, then gradually it is possible to rise to the highest platform of transcendental realization. This is verse 1 to 3. It's a very important verse. That's why we spend more time on this. I didn't want to rush it. And then there are so many points of Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj which I haven't discussed. Maybe in the next class we will discuss some more points. Because this is a very important section. The number of verses are less here, but you can extract so much from this chapter. Prabhupada ki